Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the most recent trilogy that I have read, which is the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. This series was really good and I really enjoyed reading it, so let's get on to the video. So the first book in this trilogy is The Discovery of Witches. This series follows our protagonist, Diana Bishop, as she is a scholar at Oxford. In the beginning, she is working at Oxford and she is going through all of the different manuscripts that they offer. And one of them that she happens upon is the Ashmole 782. Now, this is a book that hasn't been seen in a very long time, and that is really the basis for the plot, is the fact that this is a magical book and she is a witch. And this book has only revealed itself so far to her in the most recent history. Now, Diana as a character, I feel is really interesting. I like her because she's very focused on her career and she knows that she's a witch, but it's not something that she has ever really felt tied to. And so she's built, everything that she's built upon is her career and she's very focused on that. So I do enjoy her character because I just feel like it's something different. It's different from YA in the way that this girl does have a drive. There's something that she is working towards, but she does also happen to be a witch. So I do kind of like that about this series. Now, what I enjoy about this series is that it is an adult fiction. And I like that because it does a good balance of having a little bit of will they, won't they, you have a little bit of romance, but it's mostly plot driven, where you are just focused on what's going to happen. And I really like that. That's something that I've been looking for in a long time as I kind of go out of YA just a little bit and try to find books in other genres that I feel are just as strong. So I really did enjoy this book for that reasons. Now, her main love interest is Matthew de Clermont, and he is a vampire. In this world, the species are made up of humans, vampires, witches, and demons. Those are the 4 classifications. What rules over these 4 classes is the congregation, which is a representative from each of the 4 different species, and they all work together to create harmony and balance. Very similar to a Ministry of Magic type way. My Harry Potter fans get me. So, she is very much operating outside of the world of magic. Her parents died when she was young, which is a popular YA staple. So of course I recognized that. I was like, oh, they're gone. So she was mostly raised by her Aunt Sarah and her partner Emily, which I do love that they have a good representation of an LGBT character. I feel like there's not enough of that in books, so I did really enjoy that they added that part in there. In the book series, they talk about the different roles that all 4 species play. The vampires are a little bit different than normal vampires, just in the way that they observe family. Whenever a vampire sires another one, that is considered their child, and so on and so forth. So the person that they sire is their grandchild. So there is a real familial bond when it comes to vampires, more than just like a coven type. And I actually did kind of enjoy that. I thought it was a little bit different. And what I liked about this series, because it is an adult book, she's actually in her early 30s and he's in his later 30s. So it just adds a natural progression as far as their characters and their character development without it being too well, they, won't they, they're never going to get together. So I did really enjoy the romance that goes on between these 2, but I also enjoyed the friendships that he had with the other characters. There was a demon who was his best friend, whose name I think was Hamish, and he was a lot of fun to read. And I think he was also an LGBT character. So that was the first book. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, I think, for any of these books, because I'm going to wait and see if you guys want more spoilery reviews or not. So right now I'm just going to keep it really cut and dry. Now, the main reason for this book is you learn about the Ashmole 782. Now, that is called the Book of Life, and what it's supposed to detail is the origins for the different species, but it also details why they're dying out. So the vampires are unable to sire, the witches aren't coming back as strong, and the demons are going crazy, and the humans, they're human. So it really details kind of what's going wrong with them, and it begs the question of how do they fix it, and the Ashmole 782 is supposed to provide information as to how to fix it. So that's really the premise for the series going on. So the second book in this series is Shadow of Night, and I really enjoyed this book more than I thought I would. Now, this is probably going to be the most spoilery that I get in a review, but this one actually goes back in time to the 1500s. Her and Matthew go together to find the Ashmole 782. That is the main book that is called the Book of Life, and it's supposed to detail the origins of the 4 different species, as well as give reasons to why the species are dying. They go back in time to the 1500s, and they're hiding from what they call the Congregation, which is essentially the Ministry of Magic. They're also hiding because of the Covenant. Now, the Covenant are the set of rules that don't allow different species to date or populate. So essentially, there's no type of crossbreeding between these species, and any of that is strictly prohibited by the Covenant, and the Congregation deeply enforces that, which proves as an issue because Matthew is a vampire and Diana is a witch. And so they are going to hide from the Covenant and the people in there by going back in the past and also searching for the book, as well as starting to develop Diana's natural powers as a witch. Now, this is a little bit spoilery as well. Diana is a very particular type of witch, is what she finds out. She is actually a weaver. That means that she creates new spells. She does not perform other spells. Now, that is very interesting, and I actually like this character arc. I feel like it speaks to really figuring out your own powers, and it adds that she's chosen but not really kind, which is a trope that is very well used, especially in YA. And it does tend to get old, but I didn't feel like it got old in this. I really enjoyed it. And then they also go back in time to meet Matthew's father, Philippe, which I loved his character. His character was so kind and beautiful, and he was just a good dad, and I really enjoyed him. And it's a secondary character that I feel I usually don't get too involved in, but man, I loved Philippe. But this book was really good. I felt like she had a good balance of entertainment and keeping you in the past and also learning all of these different things about the characters. So it added a lot of good backstory and information without being too much of a rough sophomore book, because usually the second book in a trilogy I find is not my favorite book, but this one probably was. So the Book of Life is the final book to this trilogy. I got through the other books a lot faster than I got through this one. I finished the first 2 in probably a day and a half each. This book took me about a week. Not really because it wasn't interesting, but just because I was traveling during that time and there was a lot going on. But I do feel like as far as like the fast pace, this book probably has the slower pace out of them, which I found a little bit interesting. But when you just kind of keep pushing forward and you keep reading, it is a good ending to the series. I felt like she did a good job of tying up a lot of the loose ends and keeping it climactic without it being just constantly going over every cliff that you can go over when you're ending a book series. So I did really enjoy it. Now, as far as the spoilers for this book, if you don't want to hear them, don't watch. But in the last book, Diana actually finds and puts together the rest of the Book of Life, and she absorbs the Book of Life. So she has all of the information as to what the species is supposed to do, how they're supposed to continue the evolution, to continue all of the different species. And you find out that all of the species actually hail from basically humans, and that the only way to continue the different species is to break the covenant and actually start crossbreeding and being allowed to love who you want to love, which is always a good lesson in any kind of book, is being allowed to love who you want. I would say the only issue that I had in this book is that you deal with the aftermath of Sarah's partner Emily's death, and I don't love the use of killing off LGBT characters. I just don't understand why, when there's so many heterosexual characters that you could kill off instead. I feel like in the book community there's not enough of those characters, and so I did really miss Emily when she was gone, and I don't know that killing her off did much more for the series. But as far as the final book, I do feel like it was written really well. I did really enjoy the different roller coasters that it was on, and altogether I really loved the series. So those are my thoughts on the All Souls trilogy. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If there's any kind of content, any kind of books that you want me to read, please let me know. I'm currently reading quite a few books, but I can always add new books into my book queue. If there's any kind of content that you're excited about, please comment down below. Feel free to give this video a like. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.